The people making Monaco take the mic. I'm Nancy Heslin, and welcome to Monaco Info, the podcast. Our guest today is one of the UK's most recognised self-made billionaires. The founder of Phones for You was one of the first Brits to sign the Giving Pledge, promising to give away at least 50% of his wealth, is an advocate for climate action, and calls for a gambling tax to combat mayhem in society. A passionate property developer, he turned a landmark hotel on Cap d'Antibes into a €340 million residence. Meanwhile, his Caudwell Children charity, which aims to make life fair for disabled and autistic children, celebrates 25 years with its butterfly ball in Monaco. Meet John Caudwell. Hi, John. Welcome to Monaco Info, the podcast.
Hello. It's very good to be here.
I presume you're here for the Monaco Yacht Show, not just to spend some time with me.
Oh, I think it was mainly to spend time with you.
Oh, thank you, John.
But we throw the Monaco Yacht Show in as a bonus.
Do you come to the yacht show every year?
No, not every year. I've got a very big interest in boats. I love boats. I have a boat myself. And I'm just going to start a sailing course.
Oh.
So I've got a constant interest in yachting in general. But I don't come every year. I just come to keep abreast of the developments and where the industry's going.
What is it you love about boats?
Well, I love the water. Mm-hmm. When I'm single-handed sailing or boating, there's a thrill of being completely in charge, where you've got the elements to concern about, where you've got water, depths, tidal situation. You've got the challenge of being in control of something that's on a very uncontrollable sea. Mm-hmm. So there's a sort of a thrill in doing that competently and safely. Not that I've always been completely competent or safe.
When I was researching your name, John Caudwell, there was one description that just kept popping up over and over and over again, outspoken. And it made me think, are you someone that's just always been outspoken and up for these challenges, or were you a shy kid growing up and you found your voice?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there was always an element of shyness in me, but I think I was always outspoken. You know, I always challenge societal norms or things that are in society that I think are wrong. You know, so I'm a big advocate of climate change. Now, of course, that is the norm, but there's a lot of people out there that are skeptic. And I'm crystal clear on where the climate's going, and it's a disaster for the future. People argue with me about that, but most scientists actually agree with me. So I'm on the right side of that, but also it is contentious with certain people.
What are people arguing about? What is your side of that?
Oh, well, if you look, for instance, President Trump says, you know, if we get 1/8 inch rise in the sea level in the next 300 years, who's bothered? Well, it's not 1/8 of an inch, I'm afraid to say. And, you know, it's more likely to be, by the end of the century, meters, not inches or 1/8 of an inch. So there's a lot of threats there with climate change. There's a huge amount of threats. And so I am a great advocate for the environment and trying to solve the problem, which might not be consistent with yachting, incidentally.
I'm not saying anything, no.
No, I thought I'd preempt that before you did.
No, but I mean, you can't criticize one or the other. That's like people that say, oh, well, you know, Monaco, everyone flies private. So yeah. I still believe that a lot of the residents that live here also have the means through their foundations and their philanthropic programs to do things with their money, even perhaps if they fly private or they have a car and they drive. So
you're absolutely right. I mean,
there's no right or wrong in that.
I argue that all the time. I don't have a private jet and I do cycle a lot. But the simple fact is that if we develop wind, solar and nuclear to the right extent, we can cut the emissions down by 80%. The last 20% will be very difficult because it's down to yachting, down to aircraft. But all of those people that can condemn a wealthy person for having a private jet, which, as I said, I don't have, but I do have a yacht. But those criticisms are really unfair because the people that are criticising go on package tours. And they're going on package tours. And if you take all the package tours, the pollution to the atmosphere on that is way beyond these other things. But we're all entitled to do that. But the issue is solve the 80%. by nuclear, by wind, and by solar. And if we do that, we solve the problem very, very quickly, and everybody can have their liberties, their freedoms to do as their budget allows.
It's a funny subject because I think people are often more quick to just react to the millionaire or the billionaire going on a yacht and condemning that rather than actually just putting that aside. It's not a question of who's right and wrong. Just find a solution forward because we are running out of time.
No, exactly.
But if we just look at this idea of your societal rights and sort of fighting for the little guy, I think that you've done most of your life. I read that even when you were 6 years old and you were growing up in Stoke-on-Trent, you were 6 years old and you already knew that you wanted to make money to be able to give to your family and to give to people in poverty. And there's a quote saying, nothing gives you the same feeling as helping people. That's what you've said. Where does that come from at the age of 6 years old that stays with you for a lifetime?
Well, it started off as a dream, driving, being in a chauffeur-driven Rolls Royce, because that was my father's favourite car. We had a very poor upbringing. You know, my father had a 20-year-old car, so we did have a car, but he was working on it all the time. But he was a great fan of Rolls Royces. So rich meant Rolls Royce. And the philanthropy in this dream was me driving in the back, not driving, chauffeur-driven, in the back of a Rolls Royce, handing £5 notes out to poor people. I don't know what that was all about, but it lived with me for life, and it's never left me. So the first bit was make the money, because without the money, you're not going to be handing the £5 notes out. And as I made the money, I started doing more and more charitable work. And the combination of the two, you know, being wealthy and being so privileged that you can change people's lives is a thrill. It's a real sense of satisfaction, way beyond most other things that I do in life, unless it's a huge challenge. If I've got a huge challenge, like I did the attack this year and failed, next year I'm going to do it and I'm going to succeed. That will be a massive sense of satisfaction. So those sorts of things satisfy me in a big way. But it also gives me phenomenal satisfaction knowing that I'm changing people's lives. Young people, kids that have got illnesses, young people who are vulnerable, as in Caudwell Children, Caudwell Youth, where we help young people to coach them against crime, against drug abuse, and help them with their mental health problems. Doing all that is a huge sense of satisfaction. And I'm just very lucky because I can do the yacht, I can do the helicopter, I can do the cycling, but I can help people as well without it damaging the things that I like doing that might cost a fair amount of money.
In your quest to have Caudwell Children and Caudwell Youth, is there something personal in these charities for you? Is helping children get a fair fight in life? Is helping youth stay on the right track? Is that something that you yourself had to go through as a young person?
Yes, but I don't think there's a connection there. But yeah, I found, you know, I was brought up in a very poor area of Stoke-on-Trent. There was no aspiration. It was not aspirational at all. We all used to smoke at the age of 7, you know.
Oh, the good old days.
And yeah, I mean, it was a very rough upbringing. But I don't think there's any connection between that and my philanthropy, because it was the dream that set me on this route to success and philanthropy. And even at the age of 3 or 4, you know, I was doing bring and buy sales in the backyard of our terraced house. So I understood about making money, even as perhaps not 3, but maybe definitely 4 or 5. And I sold all my books. I didn't have much, but whatever I'd got, I sold out of the backyard. Brought the kids round. They all bought stuff for coppers. There were the old coppers in those days, 240 to the pound.
Amazing.
And then I'd run out. So then I went knocking on the doors, trying to buy kids' old unwanted toys, so that I got another stock level to sell again.
So you just have that ability in you to sell.
Yeah, it was just born in me, I think. It was just genetic, really, a genetic predisposition to it, yeah, to be entrepreneurial, to be creative. It's sort of to do with creativity, I think, creating opportunity, creating difference, creating solutions. You know, the charity work is all about creating a point of difference that enables people's lives to be very different than they would be if we didn't do it. And most of my life has been about creative. I'm no good with music. I can't sing.
Really?
Can't play any instruments.
You want to be able to, though?
Well, I'd like to be able to. Can't draw, can't paint, can't do any of that. But in other ways, I'm very creative in interior design and space planning. So I have got creative abilities, but not in ways that would be wonderful. I mean, how amazing if you can sit down and play the piano and entertain people like some of my friends and sing and, no, none of that. I have to shrink away.
Are you a good dancer?
No, I'm not a good
Okay,
dancer either.
right.
No, that's another problem.
Yeah,
No.
that's the one thing. I wish I was a good dancer. I could get away with the music, but I just love dancing. Doesn't look good. But when you were young, obviously you were inspired and you found that you knew that you wanted to go forward in life and you knew helping people would be a part of that. What was your journey as a young person, as a teenager, education? I mean, what road did you take?
Well, it was quite tough because my father had a hardening of the arteries, so, the precursor to strokes and heart attacks. He had that from when I was aged about 10. By the time I was 11 or 12, I understood that he got these serious chest problems where he got angina and where he was very much at risk. And by the time I was 14, I came home from school one day. The car was in the drive, which it never was at that time. And when I went into the kitchen, he was making a cup of tea and he looked all weird, all odd-shaped, and he'd had a stroke. And he actually never recovered from that stroke and died of a broken hip and pneumonia when I was 18. So times were tough, and I watched my mother go out to work to hold the family together, and she had to go out early in the morning till late at night, then look after my father, who was invalided, and her two sons. And I was always adventurous, so I was always getting difficulties with broken legs and broken arms and things, jumping across rivers and things. And just so I was a big stress for her as well.
And your brother?
Well, Brian was 7 years younger.
Okay.
And perhaps not quite so stressful for her at that time.
Did you feel a financial responsibility then when your father died and you were 18 and you wanted to help your mom?
I didn't feel a financial responsibility because there's nothing at that age I could do that would have made much difference. But I certainly helped out with the house, doing the washing. I did all the clothes washing.
Oh.
Get the washing machine out and do that for her. And I'd do a bit, but I certainly don't want to paint myself as a model son because I was a long way off that. My mother, if my mother was here now, and she died a couple of years ago, but if she was here now and we talk about my childhood, she'd be pulling her face and thinking, and groaning about me. But at the same time, she did it with great love in her heart. So, so it was a bit of a... She was paralysed from the last 20 years as well, with a stroke.
Oh.
And so she couldn't speak. But her and the carer that we paid for a carer to live with her at home so she could live at home. And it was a big joke taking the mickey out of me, and say what a problem son I was. And, I was always adventurous and causing problems and hurting myself. But I've always just loved excitement and still do.
So what did you want to do with that excitement when you were a late teen or young man?
Oh, motorbikes.
Oh.
Motorbikes, riding motorbikes way too fast.
Is there any other way that people ride at that age?
Well, some are faster than others. And I think I was dangerously fast. And everybody said that I would be dead by the time I was 18, all my friends. And I did have a few accidents, but fortunately I survived. And then I got a bit more socially responsible, thinking, it's not just about my life. If I'm riding these motorbikes quickly, then there is a danger to other people. And of course, speed got a lot less socially acceptable over the years. Like now we're really sterilised with it, aren't we? So I just ride my bike where I can't speed. If I can get to 20 miles an hour, I'm doing pretty well.
And what did you want to do then? What was your sort of life dream? What was your ambition at that point?
Gosh, it evolved from at one point wanting to be a maths teacher because I was naturally good at maths.
Really?
Wanted to be a doctor because I was fascinated by the human body and still am. But realising how does that fulfil my wish to be successful. So always wanted to be a businessman, but had no inspiration, no clue how to do it. So it was, I mentioned earlier on, a Damocles sword. This Damocles sword of being wealthy, successful and charitable really sat with me for all my teenage years and early 20s. And I knew I had to find a way, and I wasn't sure what it was. So it was challenging.
What did success mean to you at that time? You wanted to be a successful businessman. What was that in your mind?
In my mind, that was first and foremost being financially stable.
Right.
So that if the same happened to me as it happened to my father and his father, which was strokes and heart attacks in those very early years, late 40s, early 50s, that if I left a wife and family behind, I left them financially stable and not in desperate trouble. And that's what success looked like.
You did various things. I read that you worked as a Michelin apprentice. You worked in a car sales room selling used cars.
Yeah.
And then one day it just changed. You saw something that you saw a vision and your life changed.
Well, it wasn't so much a sudden vision and a sudden change.
Oh, I like the way I built that up, John.
Yeah, I know you do. Yeah. But
if we had some music in the movie, this would be it.
we don't have to we don't have to just let PR stand in the way of truth, do we?
Let's hear it.
No, the reality was there's some dramatic parts of the reality, but the reality was that I went through lots of business ideas that all failed. I never failed financially in terms of leaving debt behind, but they failed and I had to pay off the debt with my Michelin apprenticeship. Mm-hmm. And then I had a car sales business, and that was successful. So we were successful in the car sales business, which made a little bit of money. Started putting on that path to stability, financial stability. I was still working at Michelin on 50 hours a week whilst running the car sales business.
Wow.
The Michelin gave me a phenomenal training in engineering. I was trained in every aspect of engineering. So it went with my natural mechanical aptitude to build up really technical expertise in engineering, which really stood me in good stead for the rest of my life in lots of ways, really. It's that practical mind that helps you get through every practical solution.
Well, it's similar to the maths teacher, right? There's a logic there.
Yeah, there's a logic, and you get through that logic. But business is also a logic. There's a huge amount of logic in business alongside the creativity. But then I found mobile phones, and the mobile phone business lost money every month for 2 years.
What year? Sorry, what years would you be talking about here?
That was 1986,
okay.
86, 87, 88. And we lost £2,000 a month every month for 2 years. Now, that to me in those days was a lot of money. The car sales business was making more than that, but the car sales business was volatile and difficult, and it was not the easiest business in the world at all. So to lose 2,000 of the profits we were making was really painful. And then one day, this was a eureka moment, but it was a crisis.
Okay.
But out of the crisis came eureka. So the crisis was that my car trader that I'd trained, my sales manager of the car sales site that we'd trained, and my mobile phone sales manager all left at the same time for different reasons. So the different reasons, but they all left at the same time. So suddenly, I've got an unmanaged mobile phone business, an unmanaged car sales business, an unmanaged trading business. So we had to simplify dramatically, and there was just Brian and I and 2 other members of staff left. And I said to my brother, well, look, you run the car sales. We'll do the best we can. It won't be as good as when we were putting all that effort in, but let's do the best we can. I'll move into the mobile phone business and see what I can see on that, and I'll run it, and I'll base myself in that. And, within a month, I'd turned the £2,000 loss into a £20,000 profit.
What?
By arbitraging. I just spotted opportunities left, right, and centre. And the opportunities were enormous. But nobody else saw it. But I just was lucky that I had the ability to see these arbitrage opportunities.
So for the listeners, what would that mean? What would the opportunity be? What did you see?
Well, for instance, I was dealing with Motorola in those days. And there was a Motorola transporter, which was the great big bag phone that people carried around with one arm longer than the other, because it was so heavy. And there was a shortage of supply of these. And the shortage of supply applied to all the big buyers, the service providers who really needed them to put customers on air with their airtime.
Okay.
I spotted that I could get as many as I wanted of these, which I just put bigger orders in, and suddenly they came through. And I thought, this is weird because the service providers can't get them. I can. I soon realised that the reason I could get them was because they were charging me £50 higher than to the service providers. So if they were going to sell to anybody, they were going to sell to me. Mm-hmm. At that time, the service providers reckoned that having a customer signed up to their airtime was worth £1,000. So I went to them and said, look, I have to pay a lot more for these Motorola phones than you do. It costs me at least £50 more on average. But what about if I supply you so that you're not short of these phones, and I'll sell to you at cost, and I'll get a retrospective rebate by buying more volume. I'll work for the retrospective rebate. Wow. You can have it at my cost, and you'll then get the customers signed up to your airtime. And I was selling hundreds of them. And Motorola was shipping into me. I was shipping to them. And I turned the 2,000 loss into a 20,000 profit almost within weeks.
Wow.
And that was just the start then of understanding there was all various opportunities within the mobile phone business if you were creative enough and visionary enough to spot them and take up the opportunity. And so from that, I grew the empire that 20 years later sold for 1.5 billion.
That was Phones for Us.
Well, it's Phones for You.
Phones for You. I have it plural. Phones for You.
It was Phone for You.
Journalism doesn't. We don't know anything.
You could say Phones for Us because it was you. But there's 20 other companies.
Wow.
I did insurance for mobile phones. We were the biggest accessory distributor in the world, the biggest distributor of mobile phones in the world at the time. We did a whole range of businesses within the Caudwell Group.
You were selling 26 phones a minute at one point.
Yes. Yeah, that's a lot of phones.
Yeah, it's quite hard to really grasp that number.
Yes, but that wasn't all retail. Mm-hmm. That was retail and trade. Mm-hmm. But the Caudwell Group, I mean, the simple fact is when I bought the first 26 phones from Motorola, which was the biggest volume you could buy, it gave you the biggest volume discount. It took me 8 months to sell. And by the time I sold the business, we were selling 26 phones every minute. And that's where the 26 comes from. It's a funny number, but because that was Motorola's price point. So,
what happens to somebody in a process like that? You are a visionary and a salesperson. It comes together. You all of a sudden, it just takes off. You build this empire. From the beginning to the end, the respect level for you as a businessman must have just flipped on its head. All of a sudden, people see you differently?
Well, it really was not a revolution. It was an evolution. It was an evolution of a huge number of hours' work, huge stresses and pressures, and an evolution of reputation as well, and brand. I mean, initially, for the first few years, all my competitors said we were going to go bankrupt. And they told our suppliers that. They said they're overtrading, they won't survive, they can't survive. And my suppliers would occasionally say, are you okay financially, and can you show us your accounts and so on? And I'd have to constantly prove myself. Mm-hmm. And I said, but look, the proof is there. Look at the organization I'm building. Look at the volume I'm doing. But they still wanted to know the financial situation because, you know, sometimes it's smoke and mirrors. You can look very successful while actually you're going under. So I had a lot of convincing to do. It wasn't just, there was no revolution involved at all. It was evolution. Every day a hard slog in every way. Hard to keep my suppliers on board, hard to keep my customers, and hard to keep my employees. And my employees became known as the very best in the industry. So people were trying to poach them all the time. And that was because of the drive that I put behind trying to recruit the very best people, motivate them and manage them, and for them to be bought into the story that we were going to be the world's most successful cellular company of its type, which we did become. So the buying into that story gave them a great sense of pride, but then alongside that, you've got to manage them properly and you've got to incentivize them properly. And we did all of those things. So, you know, the rest is history.
You had about 10,000 employees. Is that true?
12 at the peak. 12 at the peak.
What was your management style?
Tough but fair and inspirational. So
Like your life.
Yeah, I would always criticize them for what they've got wrong. They wouldn't get praised very often, and the reason for that is very, very simple, that often too much praise does a number of things. One is it can make people complacent, and two is those managers that just praise people endlessly every day, it's meaningless. It's, it's nice, but, is it sincere? Is it genuine? We've all seen people who praise, oh, you're beautiful today, and you're beautiful yesterday, and you're beautiful tomorrow. And are you beautiful? Well, are you? Well, I believe in calling it the way it is, so that people, when they deal with me, are crystal clear. And if I'm not happy, they're crystal clear. And when I'm happy, they rise off the floor because they know they really have actually achieved something that's credible and worthwhile, not just fatuous and doing your normal job sort of in a mediocre way. So it was very much driving people to be the very best version of themselves that they could, rewarding them appropriately for that success, growing them in terms of future prospects so they could take on bigger and bigger jobs, and eventually giving them wealth creation schemes that help them to grow some wealth as well on the sale of the business.
But you must have had a very trustworthy team around you to be able to implement that to that many people, to trickle down.
Well, I was very very hands-on with all the people that were really important. And of course, those people that were really important that I was hands-on with, eventually most of them adopted my style and the way they managed their teams of people. So I was able to create this beautiful, non-bureaucratic, I'm going to say apolitical, but that might sound to your listeners that I managed to eliminate politics from my... But I didn't. But I really targeted politics. I hated people politicking and blaming other people or making excuses. I wanted clarity all the time, and I wanted people to be accountable. And I always said, look, if you've made a mistake, put your hands up. Don't obfuscate the situation. Put your hands up, own it. And that will get much more credit than if I find out that you're trying to spin blame somewhere else.
I've never understood that with people, why they try. I mean, you're going to be found out or the truth will come out. And I don't know why people don't just take responsibility and move on. Yeah.
Well, there's a number of reasons. One is if you've got an unreasonable boss, he might not accept that and you might get sacked for it. There's an element of pride, isn't there? If we fail in a way that we should not fail, there's a loss of pride. And I can think of a few examples of where I would have suffered that loss of pride over the years.
Give me an example. I want to hear this.
It's a stupid example.
That's okay.
But I did feel embarrassed about it because my brother brought me a replica of the motorbike that I had when I was 19, which was a Kawasaki Z1. And it was a nut and bolt restoration, absolutely amazing and immaculate. And I decided I was going to put it in the house. And there was a little pedestal in the house where I'd got an armchair. This was in the hallway. It's a big house, and it was in a hallway. And the guy said, oh, what about if we put it there? I said, well, I don't think it's going to fit there. And they said they thought it would. And I said, yeah, but the mudguard's going to stick through the ballot. Anyway, I argued with them. And I said, look, it's not going to work, but try it. And it did work. And I'd made a mistake. I hadn't really... I should have measured it myself and rather than argue with them. And I felt somewhat embarrassed because they made it work. And little things like that. But look, we're all human.
We all do that.
We're all human. We're all fallible. I don't make a lot of mistakes, but I make mistakes. But I always want people to hold their hands up when they've made a mistake. And the housekeepers say, if they've broken something, please just tell me about it. Don't let me find it 2 years later or whatever, that it's broken and think, who the heck's done that?
Yeah.
Just tell me. And it's no big deal because people do break things. People do make mistakes. And so I just like people to be upfront and honest.
Do you think that people are in fear of you?
Yes. Yes. But I try for them. No, not fear. I think they I think there's an element of nervousness, especially when I'm having a management meeting, because I have a very incisive ability to cut through everything and to explore somebody's lack of knowledge, lack of research, lack of, you know, that's embarrassing for them, because I have to send them away to do the job properly and come back. And most people who work for me are fearful that I'll start going down a pathway to expose what they haven't done that they perhaps should have done.
Wow.
So there's a nervousness about my, I suppose, I don't want to call it interrogation, because it's not interrogation. It's just researching the facts with them and going into such detail that maybe they should have thought about it and they haven't.
When you were building this company and leading up to the sale...
Am I coming across as an ogre on this podcast?
Am I sweating? No, it's fantastic. It's honest, but I agree with what you're saying. So I'm trying to imagine people that have that insecurity or they haven't done their job. It would be, you know, it's if you're put on the spot.
Do you know, ex-employees of mine, very regular on my social media, meet up with me on the social media and pass a comment. And what they'll say was it was the best apprenticeship working for me that they could have ever had. They'll all say it was really hard, really tough, really difficult working for me, but it set them up for life. And they've all gone on, not all, but many of those people that would pass that comment have gone on to be extremely successful. One, a FTSE 100 chief executive, another, the Hut Group, who you may have heard of. They're a business now in the UK that's worth billions. Matt Moulding, you know, they all found me very tough. I would hope they would all say I was fair, but whatever they would say, it set them up for life to succeed.
But I think you expect the same thing of yourself as you're asking of other people.
I do, yes.
So, you know,
I'm my own biggest critic.
Yeah.
You know, I'll always criticize myself when I've not done something well enough, or, you know, I've not really hit the spot.
How do you move past your mistakes then?
Oh, easily. Just do it better straight away. Look, the etap's an example. You know, the etap stage of the Tour de France. The public can enter. They pay entry fee, and they go and do one of the hardest stages of the Tour de France. I entered that 6 months ago for this year. But then at the same time, I decided with my brother we'd do the Peking to Paris car rally.
Oh, boy.
Which was only 3 weeks before the etap. So that took me out of training for 2 months. And we're in a desert in China for 2 weeks, camping out some of the time, driving this 1938 Chevrolet through all sorts of horrendous terrain, big challenges in terms of time trials and navigation.
That couldn't have even been comfortable in a 1938.
No, it was very hot. It was 45 degrees in the car.
Wow.
45 degrees. But anyway, so I do that. So I know I'm going to fail to succeed on the etap. I hoped somehow I'd get a divine intervention and somebody would push me along. But I knew it was sort of impossible, because to do the etap successfully, I have to be 100% the best that I could ever be in life. So I've come back from that a failure. People try and console me and say, well, you're not a failure, you still did very well. Well, I did do very well for my age, perhaps, but it still failed.
But what was the etap exactly? What did you have to accomplish?
15,000 feet of climb and 130 kilometres of distance.
When did you actually start cycling?
When I was 40.
Okay.
So 30 years ago.
Why?
I just went on a canal ride with my brother, and he got me into it, and I loved it, and never looked back.
Because you are an avid cyclist.
Yeah, cycling just became... and then this is nothing to do with it, actually, but I did Prince Albert's charity ride from Saint-Tropez to here.
I did that too, John.
Did you?
That's the first time I met Modesta.
Ah, well, that's where I first met Modesta.
Wow, I didn't end up with her though.
well, perhaps she was the wrong sex for you, but that's a different podcast.
But I remember because she was promoting some of the rides she did, and I was just in awe of what she was trying to create and these other. I mean, that's a tough cycle.
She was a top 5 world cyclist. She was an Olympian from the Beijing Olympics, and I met her on that ride, and we just got on really well. And ended up together. But that was nothing to do with inspiring me on cycling. I now inspire her because she's done it all and is not that fascinated by cycling. She likes it still, enjoys it, but not like me. I'm just a maniac. You know, I love hurting myself.
So what does that mean? You do specific courses? You ride for charity? What do you do?
Well, all sorts. But for instance, doing the tap next year, you're saying, what do I do when I fail? Well, I failed. So what I've done now is applied sports science to my training. I've researched it endlessly. I've bought a lactate meter. So I'm lactate testing when I go. I'm going to a sports physiology lab to test
my
VO2 max. I'm taking it immensely seriously till next July, when I'm going to do the ETAP, and barring illness or something, I will succeed next time. And that's my attitude to life. If you fail, but it is feasible to succeed, then do it. I mean, I'm never going to try and play the piano because I've got zero talent. That's a pointless exercise. But, you know, I can achieve the ETAP. I can and will achieve it. It won't be for lack of effort.
Now, you're doing all of this. Does this in the home drive Modesta crazy because you are 100% focused on this, or you have so many interests that's just one of the things you're on about?
I think I've got so many interests. But I think in some respects she's got a tremendous respect for that quality in me. And in other respects she finds it tiresome. If she was here, she could answer that question better than I. But I think she finds my dedication, focus and drive very tiring and very, very tiring. And at the same time as having a tremendous respect for that and for me, she's also a bit fed up of it at times because she thinks that I'm obsessive.
No.
And I don't. I just want to achieve it. You know, I don't think that's obsessiveness. I think that's just passion, desire, and desire to succeed. I don't see it as obsessive.
Well, I don't imagine you're someone that would fail twice.
I've failed the ETAP twice.
Oh, you already have failed the ETAP twice.
I've succeeded once.
So we're going for.
Well, I've succeeded once 6 years ago before COVID.
Okay.
5 years before that, I failed. I was ill before, and there was an excuse. And I don't say that to make an excuse because I failed at the end of the day, but I couldn't train just before it. The same as this time, I couldn't train. And it was that 6 weeks when I was doing Peking to Paris was critical training period, and I couldn't do it. Would I have succeeded without Peking to Paris? I don't know for sure. I don't know. But what I do know is I'm going to succeed next year.
May I ask you, I read about this in the papers when you had an accident in Florence, and that was a really big story. I mean, obviously you got back in the saddle, but was there a moment after that you thought, maybe I'm not going to bike anymore? And maybe just briefly say what happened?
No, I'm never put off anything. I just get back on my horse straight away.
But that was a serious accident.
It was serious, yes. I'd got concussion to the point that immediately after falling off the bike, I tried to stand up and I was blind in one eye and dizzy. I'd got 6 fractured overlapping ribs, a punctured lung, a fractured hip, a shattered shoulder blade and a shattered collarbone, which I've now got a steel plate in there for that.
From an exploded tire?
Yeah, from an exploded front tire, and it just dropped me on the... It didn't just drop me down, it threw me. I can't explain why I hit the deck so hard to smash my body up, but I hit it so hard, it just smashed all that left side of my body up. So it was pretty tough, and being in the Italian hospital was even tougher. I mean, that was a horrendous experience until they managed to heli me out. They managed to heli me out into the Princess Grace Hospital. I've never been so excited to see a French hospital in my life.
No. And so really there was never a question. How long would it have taken you before you got back on the bike?
Well, I had to
recover a little.
I had to recover a bit, and I had to have it reoperated on.
Oh, wow.
So it was about 3 months before I was able to get back on the bike. So I had to let all these injuries come good first. But then I was back and hard at it again.
Did you start to cycle because you were diagnosed with Lyme disease and wanted to better your health? Or
No.
I was fascinated to learn that you had Lyme disease and so many of your members of your family.
Yeah.
How does that impact
but
you?
that was long after I started cycling.
Oh, okay.
And it did impact because I had fatigue and a little bit of brain fog, and for a while, whenever I did any physical exercise, it made me very tired. Fortunately, it didn't make me tired sitting at my desk and working. So doing all my managerial tasks didn't make me tired. So I was still able to do 10, 12-hour days. So that was fine. But if I did any exercise, it knocked me for 6. So that was quite tough getting through that. But eventually, I mean, I cleaned everything up. I cleaned my diet, took out all the bad foods in life, which is 90% of what we eat. Yeah. And I took them all out. I took everything out. Got rid of all the foods that cause toxicity in the body, and all the things that are really bad for us. So that ranged from cow's milk to seed oils it was everything really. I mean, it was 90%. And I ate a lot of organic vegetables, a huge amount of organic vegetables, healthy oils like olive oil and butter. I just really tried to clean my diet up, eliminated all flour products. Every single flour product was eliminated, still is, really. So it just did a lot for my health to stop this toxicity causing problems. And eventually I sort of recovered, and I think fully recovered. I never take it for granted, so I always try and keep my diet on target as much as I can.
Well, especially if you're exercising like that, you would want your body to be producing.
Well, I also do a lot of fasting. I'm a great fan of fasting.
Do you do the 7 p.m., 11 a.m. fast? What kind of fasting do you do?
No, because that's really not much good. It's better than nothing. But what you really want is a 5-day fast.
What?
And the reason you want a 5-day fast is because it gives your stomach chance to repair itself. And anybody with leaky gut, it gives a chance for the gut to repair all the leaking little gaps in it, to repair itself so that it's not leaking toxins into your body. So that's one thing. After 24 hours, you go into autophagy, and autophagy is the body's ability to scavenge all the bad cells in the body, even precancerous cells, and scavenge them, take them away and turn them into fuel, turns them into glucose. After about 2 to 3 days, you produce human growth hormone. And after 4 days, and this is not an exact science, incidentally, but after about 4 days, stem cells. So you're really repairing the body on a 5-day fast.
What are you taking in 5 days, John?
Water and maybe black coffee.
And how often do you do that?
Oh, it's not very often because it's tough, you know.
Ew, I can't imagine.
Like at the boat show now, I'm going to 3 cocktail parties this week, so my fasting's not going to be very good. But I do it when I can plan it in, when I've got no social engagements and I can plan it in, and also when I've got the will, because that's difficult. I love food, so it's really difficult.
Oh, you do love food? Because I
love it.
Okay.
No, I'm a foodie through and through. I love the perfection of food when it's deliciously tasty. Thai food is my favourite because of all the taste and the herbs and the spices. No, I'm a real foodie, so it's really actually very difficult. But I love my health more than I love anything. I want to be healthy.
With Lyme disease, is there anything that you have to change in your life?
Well, it depends whether you can remove it from your life. And I removed it from my life. And Lyme disease is very, very complicated because you take the antibiotics to try and kill the infection, but sometimes it leaves you with something residual. A bit like COVID can leave you with long COVID. It's a bit like that. And whether you'd call it Lyme disease still, or whether you call it a syndrome of symptoms caused by your body's functionality being below par, I don't know, and nobody knows. But I do know that if you try and take all the toxicity out of your body and all those inflammatory items that we all eat and take for granted, and bread, flour, pasta, cakes, biscuits are all inflammatory.
Guilty.
All inflammatory. To some people, maybe not so much, but they're inflammatory, full stop. Gluten's inflammatory. If you take all that out of your body and clean your body up, it's always going to give you a better result. And, you know, just for your listeners, because this is really cool, if they go on to fasting for 3-4 days, after 2 days, your mental clarity and your physical ability is way beyond if you're not fasting. So it's a fantastic thing.
You wouldn't think that to be true.
No, you wouldn't. But if you think about it logically, and let's go back 5,000 years when there was no food available, no supermarkets, and you had to go and hunt, you'd often go for 2 or 3 days without eating. If you then lost all energy and lost mental clarity, you'd die.
Yeah.
So we were designed to have more mental clarity and more ability to hunt the food with that, not starvation. It's fasting is not starvation. Starvation comes a lot further down the route. But, you know, they're also, especially in America, there's fasting clinics that fast people for 50 days under medical supervision. And they find, in a lot of cases, reversal of diabetes, reversal of heart attacks, strokes, even reversal of cancer. So there's a lot of benefits that can come out of a 50-day fast. It has to be medically supervised. It has to be absolutely run.
Can't even think that.
No, you can't. I can't either. Even though I've done a 5-day fast. Yeah. I can't. It feels like purgatory to me. But if I had, you know, a really terminal illness, I might well try that, because there's a lot of evidence that it works in not every person, but in some people. And if you've got something that's terminal and the medical science of the day can't fix that, would you go and spend 50 days on a fast? I think I probably would, because I'd want to do something about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to try to control it.
And that is doing something about it. And we know it can work.
Let's take your little passion for food, because one of the things that you love in life is beautiful properties. And I think that these things kind of go hand in hand, the luxury of taste, the luxury that is applied to the palate or to visuals. You have what is the most expensive home in Villefranche. You have the most expensive home in London.
Yeah.
Can you tell people a little bit about what makes this £250 million home so extravagant? I read that you have let me just double check on that, a car stacker, 20,000 sheets of gold instead of using gold paint. Where did this all come from? Tell us about this house.
Well, I bought the house, which was 2 houses actually joined by an underground tunnel, but it was quite semi-derelict. It was the Sultan of Brunei's brother's house. It had been very badly done. It was badly done from a space planning and badly done from every point of view. The decor was pretty poor. There was a lot of gold, but there's too much. It was throw gold at it. I know you've quoted all those gold leaf, but that's in the ballroom, and it's extremely tasteful. There's virtually no gold anywhere else.
Oh, I've seen photos. Your house is extremely tasteful, as you say. Like it's an elegant, lovely space.
And I thought, first of all, I'd spend 10 million refurbishing it. And I realised that it wasn't refurbishable without major expense. But what also swung it was that I was able to get another 2 basement levels, in which I was able to put an entertaining nightclub, the swimming pool, the full spa, a cinema, more bedrooms, staff apartments and everything. So it became this huge renovation that took 4 years. And thousands of tons of soil dug out to make these new basement spaces. So it deserved the very best of interior design. So it was a friend of mine, actually, who won against all the competition in London, everybody that I asked to quote and asked to give me design features. She won. And I love everything that she's done. It's really beautiful. And when most people come into my home, they say it's the most beautiful home they've ever been into in their lives. So maybe they're a bit sycophantic, but I choose to think not. I choose to think that they really mean it. In fact, Princess Beatrice came once. She came into the ballroom and she looked and her eyes lit up and she said, "Wow, John, I've never seen anything like this." And I said, Yes, Beatrice, of course you haven't. Of course. But it is, the ballroom is spectacular. So the house is spectacular. But, you know, the thing that satisfies me way more than that is all the charity events I have there. I have lots of charity events, charity dinners, canapé evenings, and we raise, well, hundreds of thousands of pounds on a night, whether it's in the nightclub or whether it's in the dining room, for both charities, for Caudwell Children and for Caudwell Youth. So it's very satisfying when you invite a lot of people into your home, that they support the charitable causes that you've founded, and that everybody has a great night, and they all become friends. So yeah, I'm putting groups of friends together, like-minded people who are philanthropic, who are charitable, who come together. And I've got a Life Changers Circle for that, which is people that have pledged to donate £100,000 a year for 10 years, so £1 million in total. And this is a lovely group of people. In fact, they're coming to my house before the charity ball in October. So they're coming, I'm entertaining them there, entertaining them at Sass Cafe for Modesta and my birthday party, and then they're coming to the Monaco ball.
There's so many things that I want to ask you, but I know I don't have time. But one of them is just, is there a sense of pride for you? Because I find that you're quite open. Like you can see, you do a lot of interviews about the house, and you and Modesta are there, you're smiling, your kids are smiling, and this beautiful home. Is it because for you, it is just this creation of bringing all these people together? It's more than just a home that's beautifully decorated.
Yeah, charity is a massive driver for the PR that I do, you know, whether it's a podcast or whether it's television. Really trying to inspire people to be charitable, inspire billionaires to join the Giving Pledge, because there's well over 3,000 billionaires and only 250 have joined. And if all of them joined, they've only got to pledge 50% during or after their lifetime. It's not even, doesn't seem to me to be even painful, you know, and they can still be billionaires, multi-billionaires, 300 billionaires, you know, billionaires worth 300 billion. They could still be that for their entire life, because they don't have to pledge it until after they died. Although I think that takes a lot of the pleasure away. So a lot of what I do is really trying to inspire people to make the world a better place.
But do you think that the ultra high net worth people in this world should be doing more?
Oh, I absolutely think
not just with the Giving Pledge. I know. I just want to point out that you've committed to donating 70% of your wealth. What should people be doing? Because it feels like there's a lack of either. I don't know what it is. Maybe people don't want to sign the Giving Pledge because it's billions, but there could be more. I think
there could be more, and I think the rich people ought to feel obliged to do more, but it is their choice, actually. You know, they've been smart enough, they've been worked hard enough, or lucky enough, or whatever it is. They've achieved this magnificent wealth through all of those features, and it's their choice how they spend it. But if they don't do enough from a charitable perspective, I think they're missing out on a great pleasure in life. And maybe they wouldn't get the pleasure from it, but if they don't try, they don't know. You know, so if a billionaire worth 5 billion suddenly decides to pledge 50% in his lifetime, or after his lifetime, but starts donating hundreds, millions, or even hundreds of thousands during his lifetime, and sees the changes that money can make to people's lives who desperately need it. I'm not talking about poor people particularly. I'm talking about people who are disadvantaged by health, and those people that really need the help. They're missing out on something that could prove to be a huge pleasure for them. And they're missing out on that pleasure. And like one of my childhood ambassadors said at a speech in the Monaco ball, come on, ladies, you don't need a Louis Vuitton bag. You don't need a Chanel. You've got lots of those. You don't need Jimmy shoes. You've got everything you need. So add to the collection of what you're doing by making a young person's life a lot better. And it's true, you know, if you don't try that, you don't know whether it's something that will give you much greater satisfaction as an individual.
The Butterfly Ball is going to be on October 21st, and it's the 10th anniversary of the ball and the 25th anniversary of Caudwell Children. What is your ball? Because I read something in Asia Tadler, like it is the ball of all balls. What is it? What would people experience at your ball here in Monaco?
Well, it's a beautiful environment in the Hotel de Paris, and it's a beautiful ballroom, as you probably know.
Yeah.
So it's quite intimate. There's only about 230 people, so it's very intimate.
Who comes to your ball?
Oh, lots of wealthy people and all the Life Changers circle and guests that we invite personally, who we want to get to inspire to be charitable. So a whole range of people, and it's a lovely, intimate evening, and we always want people to have a phenomenal time because we want them to think very well of the charitable causes we've got, and we want them to come back next year. So we want them to have a great time, but we also want them to donate and want to touch the hearts. So the speeches shouldn't be too long, but they should really touch the heart of those people, of those guests, with what we're trying to achieve and the difference it makes to children's lives. So I'll always tell a couple of stories about the kids that we've helped and what's happened to those kids since.
Can you share a story?
Yeah, I can. I can talk about the little ginger-haired kid who had cerebral palsy, couldn't use his legs at all, and so his mother sewed patches on the knees of his jeans because all he could do was crawl around the floor. Not crawl, just drag himself around the floor with his hands, which rubbed out the knees of his jeans. And that was his life from birth to 6 years old. We sent him on a life-changing SDR operation in the States. He couldn't get it done in those days in the UK. We sent him on that in the States. He came back. We paid for physiotherapy for 2 years for him. And at one of our London charity balls, he came as a guest on the stage to help me raise money. He ran onto the stage, jumped in my arms, and Barbara's rubbed my bald head with his knuckles. And every woman in the room fell in love with him. He's a cheeky chappy, little ginger-haired chappy, really cheeky and charismatic, and now fully mobile to the point that he was running where before he hadn't been able to stand or do anything. And when you see changes like that, what rich person in Monaco would not like to think that they had done that for a child that otherwise might spend the whole of their life not walking?
Wow. That is a story that you know that your money is going to something for the greater good.
Yeah.
It's not just sitting in administration. I just wanted to ask you, you wrote a book called Love, Pain, and Money, and you donate all the proceeds of that book also to your charity?
Yes.
One of the quotes was that you said that this book is it's a rags to riches story, and it's going to resonate with how was it worded? Aspiring billionaires. What is an aspiring billionaire? Are we not all aspiring billionaires? Sitting here and spending some time with you, am I not now going to be an aspired billionaire?
I don't know.
What is?
Are you? Are you going to?
Oh, I've always been. No, but what is an aspired billionaire?
Well, I think first of all, you've got to have that desire and the belief. Let's not worry about billionaire because it's a bit crass, isn't it? But to be wealthy and successful would be a lot of people's aspiration, but they need inspiration. And I think to an extent I can provide that inspiration because I came from the back streets of Stoke-on-Trent, and I fought my way up and clawed my way up to the wealth I've got today. And it's not true to say that if I can do that, everybody can do it, but I think everybody can be inspired to be better than they are, to go the next mile, whether it's cycling, to be a better cyclist, whether it's to be a better human being, whether to be a more successful business person. They can all be inspired and then aspire to be that much better and to be the best version of themselves. And I always said to my children, I don't want you to be a business person. I don't want you to... the only thing I want from you is two things. I want you to be happy, and I want you to leave the world a better place than you found it. And whatever your wealth is, whatever your situation is, I don't mind what that is. I just love you to be happy and leave the world a better place than you found it. Now, if being happy means being successful and wealthy in business, or whether it means being a singer, which that's where I'd be very miserable. But whatever it means, just be happy. And I could never have been happy without being successful. It was in my DNA. I had to be successful. And I wouldn't have been happy without being successful. But now that I am successful, I don't think I'd be happy without being charitable. I have to do it. And that's why Modesta and I spend a huge amount of a working week on charitable work of one element or another.
Just to wrap up, I think people would just love to hear this. This is taking us away a bit from the charity side, but we didn't touch on your new property in Cap d'Antibes, and I think it would be interesting for people here because it's local. The Provençal.
Yeah.
It was a historic, iconic hotel. Hemingway was there. Churchill was there. What made you think this is the property for me to go? And you've made into how many residences?
40. You know, it was. I'd cycled past it, and I mean, I've always been a bit of a fan of that part of France and Juan-les-Pins, Antibes, and I'd seen it derelict for 30 or 40 years, and always thinking, why doesn't somebody do with it? And then one day, somebody did do something with it, and it started being developed, and I thought, amazing. Then the financial crash came, and all of a sudden it seized up. And I said to my property director, I said, look, just give them a call and see what's going on. And sure enough, it was in administration. And I sort of thought how wonderful to develop that and turn it back into its former glory. And so the rest's history. That's what we did. Instead of it being a hotel, though, we've now got an Ella Fitzgerald apartment because she stayed in that room, which was a room, not an apartment in those days, sang at the jazz festival. And it's beautiful creating something like that was derelict and restoring a part of any city, which is the same we're doing in London with One Mayfair.
Right.
Restoring something that's beautiful, creative, and something that you feel proud of. Might not always be the most profitable formula, but it's very satisfying from a visual creativity point of view. So if I was just going to go for profit, I would have built Chinese apartment blocks in Manchester for the university students and filled it full of university students and made a fortune. But I wouldn't really have had any pride in that. Creating Provençal, Le Provençal, from that derelict building and saving it from complete collapse, and now creating one of the most iconic and beautiful apartment blocks on the whole of this coastline.
That's right.
Is, you know, it's there's a pride in it. There's a pride when people see it and say, wow, this is the most beautiful interior design, architecture, everything on the whole coastline, and we love it. And
it's been delivered?
It's delivered, yeah. It's been finished 2 months ago, so we're in the sales process now, and it is really, really beautiful. If you get a chance, you ought to get.
Well, I was thinking for next year's Princess Charlene Saint-Tropez to Monaco cycle, are you going to open it up for us and let all the cyclists?
Are you still doing that?
I haven't done it for a couple of years.
Well, if you do it, we'll open it up and we'll do another interview in the foyer there.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that, John. I'm going to hold you to that. Listen, thank you so much for taking the time to come on Monaco Info, the podcast. It's just been a pleasure, and I think I'm an aspired billionaire now.
Fantastic. Well, that's my job done today then, isn't it?
Thanks, John.
And when you do, charity.
I'm already good on that front. I just need to get the money behind me. Yeah,
more than.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.